Hello, thank you all, and welcome to our Raleigh Transit Authority meeting for today, Thursday, February 11th, 2021. I'll call this meeting to order at 3:33. What a divine time. I'm going to take a moment really quickly to go over our executive orders. The governor has issued executive orders requiring individuals to remain in their homes except for certain activities, closing many businesses to the public, and prohibiting any gatherings which do not comply with the terms because of the risk to the public that would arise from continued in-person meetings pursuant to NCGS 166A-19.24. It is converting Raleigh Transit Authority meetings to a remote electronic format for the duration of the state of the emergency. All votes will be counted via roll. One moment while I pull up our roll. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the roll for this month, authority meeting. Please signify aye if you are present. All right, Nathan Spencer. Karen Renge.
Aye.
Michael Stevenson. Christopher Jones. Daniel Coleman. Morris Cook.
Aye.
Brian Burnett. Joshua Gill.
Aye.
Sarah Prado as an alternate. And do we have any city council member or our liaison, Corey Branch? All right. I didn't hear Danny, so far we only have 4.
I'm here.
He was.
Okay, there you are. I know that Michael Stevenson said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He did ask Danny if you were able to, he sent an email. I don't know if you saw it, but he did ask if you were able to go over the policy and finance meeting for him in his stead.
I am going to go over it with the assistance of staff.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so that was our quick call to order and introductions. We're going to go ahead and approve the minutes for December and January. Now, we know December was a little ways off, but let's start with that one first. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve December's minutes?
I make a motion to approve December's minutes. This is Karen Renge.
Thank you, Karen.
Joshua Gill seconds.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded, so we'll go ahead for the vote. All in favor of approving December's minutes, say aye. So I'm gonna go with the people. I'll call out. We'll go with the people that are here. Daniel Coleman.
Aye.
Karen Renge.
Aye.
Joshua Gill.
Aye.
And I as well, Tallulah Pay. Oh, Morris Cook. Sorry, Morris.
Aye.
And I as well.
Spencer on here too.
Okay, Nathan. All right. For the record, Nathan is also in the building. So our December minutes have been approved and seconded. We're going to go ahead and approve the January minutes. If there are no questions about the January minutes, we'll go ahead to approve those if we can get a motion.
Daniel Coleman, move approval.
Karen Renge, second.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. We'll go ahead and take a vote. Please signify aye if you vote to approve the minutes for January, nay if otherwise. Nathan Spencer.
This is Nathan Spencer. I vote aye.
Karen Renge.
Aye.
Daniel Coleman.
Aye.
Morris Cook.
Aye.
Joshua Gill.
Aye.
And I as well for Tallulah Pay Omokaye. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda as is set?
Madam Chair, I do have one item to add.
All right.
Staff would like to provide a brief overview of the Section 5310 program that will call for projects. That call for projects is scheduled for later in February. In our March meeting, that call for projects will actually be on the street. So we wanted to go ahead and announce that in advance today. So I'm just going to provide a brief overview, 2 to 3 slides, and I can do that at the end of committee reports or at any point at your pleasure.
All right, we'll go ahead and move that to the end of the committee reports after the marketing committee meeting. All right, are there any other, no problem at all. Thank you, David. Are there any other revisions or additions to our agenda?
Madam Chair, this is Nathan Spencer. I wanted to talk about the vaccine rollout and Go Raleigh's role within that. So I don't know where that would land or whether it just be at the end. We're concluding remarks, but I'd like to get an update on it.
All right, so you want to update on the vaccine rollout and Go Raleigh's role. We can add that to the end as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there anything else? No other additions to our agenda? All right, cool. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. I know we have public comments in about 20 minutes. David, do you know if we have any comments so that we don't have to, we can just keep moving if we don't? I can't hear you.
So far, we did not have anyone sign up. I will defer to staff right now to correct me if I'm wrong, but as of my last check, we did not have any public comment scheduled.
This
And
is
hearing no-
Andrea.
Okay,
This is Andrea Epstein. We do not have any public comment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, David and Andrea. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. I see we have no action items. We have a staff information item on the Hillsborough Street beautification.
Yes, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Van Hook. I'm a transit planner with the City of Raleigh. So I'm going to share some information about an upcoming art project. Thank you, Andrea. So the organizations Arts Closure and Live It Up Hillsborough have teamed up on a Hillsborough Street beautification project, which is going to involve artwork for the traffic signal boxes along the corridor and some bus shelters. So we can go to the next slide. So for the bus shelter component, it will involve a commissioned art series from 9 local artists. They've created adhesive stickers that are roughly 6 foot by 1.5 feet that will get placed on the sidewall of our shelters. And these are planned to be installed in early 2021 and remain up for about 1 year. Next slide, please. And these are the 9 artists that were commissioned and contributed artwork to the project. Leave that up for a second. And then on the next couple slides, we will see the artwork that they contributed. Okay, next slide, please. So this artwork is also available in the memo on board docs if you want to take a closer look at their wonderful work. And so if you weren't familiar, this is the Live It Up Hillsborough Street logo that they've put their interpretation on. Next slide. Yeah, and that's the remainder of the art. And so I don't have the names with the artwork right now, but I'm told the installations will have a small panel next to it with the artist's name, a title, and description, sort of similar to what we see with the Together Raleigh art project. Next slide. This is a list of the bus shelters involved along the corridor. So we have 3 of our slim-sized shelters that will have a placement, and then the large shelters at Brooks Ave and Hillsborough. Those can accommodate 4 of these pieces of art. And the last 2 would be planned for NC State's campus, which they have a number of shelters along their frontage. The image on the right shows the placement on the shelter. So it would be the side wall, as I said, and it's the far side. So basically opposite of what the line of sight between the rider and an operator would be. So to close, reminder that this installation is in the very near future. I'm happy to answer any questions I have. And thank you for the representatives from Art Disclosure for joining us today as well.
Hey, Matthew,
Yes, sir.
Daniel Coleman. That question mark illustration on the shelter, that's the template, that's the area that the artwork will take, right? That's where it's going.
That's correct. Yep, just on the side wall. Yep.
So it's going to wrap around that center style, huh?
Yeah, they'll kind of break it up. Kind of if you've seen some of the other shelter art that's out there, there's just kind of a gap there.
So it's a gap. So the drawing doesn't wrap around the style. It just stays. It's just glass to glass.
Yeah, I think they kind of take that portion out of the artwork so that it doesn't, it kind of visually lines up correctly, but they will not have to do that on those Brooks Avenue shelters because there's not that little divider in the sidewall.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Matt, this is Karen Ringe. I'm chair of the marketing committee. And so we have overseen the art on bus shelters that we've been partnering with the City of Raleigh's Arts Commission. And we've done it for 2 years, and I've been noticing when I see the bus shelters, that when I see the wraps, the artistic wraps that are transparent, I almost don't see them. They're so light. And I don't know how much of this is that maybe the sunlight has worn them out. And I've thought, if we're going to keep doing this, it's a shame when there's all this cool art that it's just not that visible. At the same time, the bus shelters need to be transparent for safety reasons, and I get that. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but as far as this project goes, because they're smaller and they don't take up as much space, and at least your image looks much darker, I'm wondering if they're going to be a little more opaque so they can be seen better, or if you're using the exact same vendor that did the other wraps for our shelters, or even if you even know.
Yeah, so the one thing I do know is they are using a different printer and vendor than the Together Raleigh project, but that the material should be very similar. So I don't know for sure what the opaqueness will look like in the end. But since these just have a smaller footprint on the shelter, yeah, you're right. We don't have to worry as much about that transparency.
Just following up, if you could whoever you're working with, from whether it's from Art Disclosure, the artists themselves, or the vendor, if you could raise that. I just want, for everyone's benefit, for the artists, for Live It Up, and for us, it'd be nice if they could really be more punchy.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any more questions or input? I want to go ahead and acknowledge Brian Burnett has entered the room for the records for our attendance. How are you, Brian? Well, I thought he was.
Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, let's jump to our route committee report with Nathan Spencer.
Hey, everyone. So for route committee, I'll just go quickly through what we talked about, and then I'll focus on the cool interactive stuff a little longer than the other stuff. Let me pull up our agenda. First, a couple things. We did not, we got an R-line update on metrics. The R-line and that's coming quarterly to the route committee unless there's large changes. It did not meet benchmarks, so we are keeping it in hibernation right at the moment. The Garner Route 20 There's an extension that we talked about at the last board meeting and was discussed further at the route committee. It's going to include a number of new apartments and residential spaces along there. It should be coming. That extension should be coming online pretty soon. That is not a too much of a change for the route, as there's it's not going to delay things too much. But as far as they've seen with remarks, it's getting about a 95% positivity rate from folks, and people are really glad. The apartment group has been really just a big fan of the route going through there. So if we ever feel like we're not being appreciated, there are groups that really love us. Glenwood route package FY21, the work plan is that is being the Glenwood route package has been released. That's going to increase. That's going to the Glenwood route is being increased in service. I apologize. I mumbled over those words. And that's something that was built into the Wake Transit Plan. It was put on reserve in case we had the funds. It seems that we are able to continue moving forward with that. So we're excited to see the route increase. It's moving to operating, I believe it's frequent, to every 15 minutes with half hour after 8 o'clock and going until midnight. Previously, that route was, I believe, half hour, but ending rather early. So sort of leaving folks that were getting off of a later night shift to have to walk a fair distance. So that's going to continue moving forward. The FY22 work plan from the Wake Transit Plan is being put together now. There is a lot that Raleigh is asking for within there. There's a number of routes that have all been consistent with our plan throughout the past couple of years to get online. Not much has changed within that. The meat and potatoes on that one is that the capital projects, we're looking at 20 new 40-foot buses. We're expecting some of those to be EVs. That, depending on our experience of the 5 that we're supposed to be receiving in the next few months, we've got 4 paratransit vehicles coming in, 80 new bus stops being put in, 80, which is great. Design for 2 new enhanced transfer points. We are going to get the funds to be able to do construction for the East Raleigh Transit Center. There is still things being worked out for that to be able to get the space and move forward with it, but we'll have the funds to begin once we are clear to go. We are going to get updates on and upgrades on Crabtree Valley Mall stop as transfer point, as well as Triangle Town Center. And we are starting the design phase of the Western Corridor BRT. Now the fun part is, and I haven't tried this since we tried it before and it didn't work at the meeting, but if you put in GoRaleighLive.org into a browser, it should bring up the new tool, which is going live with Go Raleigh, that's connected to the new bus system, the new computer system, or the new technology, if you will, for the buses. It will be an alternative to Transloc. It is web-based, but it does have planning tools. It is updated. We're not going to have the same problems that we've been having in the past, where there were delays or the buses just would disappear on there. So this is going to be much more reliable, much more of something that we can hang our hat on. It will also build some confidence to what we're pushing out. It's not really useful to push out new bus routes if you don't know where they are and if they're not reliable to get on. So this will help folks see that they're coming. They'll be able to see where their bus is. They'll be able to plan out their ride, get to doctor's offices or doctor's appointments or the grocery store or work or whatever. So as we start to come out with vaccines, come out of our hibernation, we'll be able to share this with folks and they'll be able to use it. The other cool thing with this this tool is that there's a live API to it, which means that if we go to someone who likes to build apps and say, go ahead and build something, they can do it themselves. They don't need specific permission. And we could easily end up with a variety of different options on apps on where's your bus or stuff like that make it much easier for folks to connect. This is something that we did with the MBTA in Boston. And when that rolled out, there were, 10 or 15 different apps. One just rose to the top as just being the one that everyone downloaded as perfect. And it just means that folks get the comfortability and customization that they want. So that is the report for Route Committee. If there are any questions, I can take them, but thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Nathan, this is Karen Ringe. I have a question. In terms of the timing, first of all, great report. Really excited about FY22. It's especially the EV buses. That's great. In terms of the timing on the new technology, is that part of our budget proposal to TPAC, or is that something separate? And if so, when is that likely to be happening? You may have said and I missed it.
No, you're fine. This is Nathan Spencer. It is not part of the FY22 request. It's actually been paid for. The technology was procured about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. We put the procurement out. The Go Raleigh has been testing the technology in a couple buses, slowly growing the number when they see success, when staff sees that it's working, and now it's installed in all the buses. It is ready to go, and it's just a matter of rolling it out. I guess you could say this is where my committee ends and your committee, Karen, begins. Mm-hmm. Is at a certain point, it now is when people start to learn about it and get to play with it.
So I do remember we had a report on this some time ago, but it's all these long periods and we're not seeing each other. It's hard to remember everything. So Andrea and the marketing committee, let's definitely talk at our next meeting on what the plan is. And Andrea, I'm sure your team's already working on something, and maybe you could report to us if we could provide any suggestions. But I'd really love to know what the marketing team's going to be doing to help not just our riders know about this, but this is a cool thing, and it could hopefully start getting people back on the bus.
We will present that at your next committee.
Thank you.
do have a question. How do we find out where those new bus stops are being located? The 80 bus stops is amazing. Do we have an idea of where they're going to be placed, and are they going to be the new shelters, the old shelters that we've been using?
That's a good question. I believe that for overall, there's the bus maps resource on the Go Raleigh site. I believe it's goraleigh.org/bus maps. David, if you want to clarify on that.
Yes, if you go to raleighnc.gov/bus map.
Perfect.
It has all of the, up in the top right-hand corner, you'll see something that looks like layers of paper. So that means the layers on the map. And you can turn on all stops, or you can just look at existing shelters, or you can look at programmed shelters. The red shelters show up as existing shelters. So there's 234 roughly of existing. Then you'll see the yellow dots, which represent all of the stops that are currently in design. And as stated earlier, there's between, somewhere around 80 that are in design or some form of installation. And then the gray dots are actually all the existing stops that are not yet programmed. And we'll probably provide an update we will provide a more comprehensive update next month on our shelter programming and next steps.
David, what was that web address again, please?
That is raleighnc.gov/bus map.
Bus map, got it.
And are we removing any of thank you for that, David. I think that helps with where the stops are, but are they going to be the new red shelters?
So we do have, we've got 8 redded shelters installed. We've got 22 in stock, and we can order 30 additional. Now, we are installing those, but we also have a stock of about 30 to 40 of the old style shelters that we had just in warehouse. So we don't want those to go to waste. So we're going to be, putting out both of those until our stock of the older shelters is depleted. And then we would just go with the red shelters until, unless something changed. But that is our plan. But we do plan to install the 22 of the red that we have in stock, as well as exercise our next option for additional 30.
Tallulah, can I ask Nathan a question?
Yes, please, Daniel.
All right. First off, my headset, the microphone wasn't working. That's why I was freaking out over here. I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Hey, Nathan, what's that router address you gave us at the beginning? I thought you had a wonderful presentation. I concur with Karen. What was that router address you gave us at the beginning?
The route that's moving forward.
No, it's GoRaleighLive.org.
Oh, that one.
Is that up now? Because I'm clicking on it. It's not. Is it out? Like
GoRaleighLive.org. Okay. I thought there was an extension on it.
I am also having trouble getting it.
You may want to let Mr. Walker, that was a test site. So obviously I think Mr. Walker may have an update on that.
okay.
Thank you.
David Walker, City Raleigh. The GoRaleighLive.org will be a new alternative to Transloc. You may need to type in the www right now. For some reason, we're having issues. Some people can pull it up and some others cannot. So we're working regularly with Clever Devices, the software provider, to get that corrected. And as soon as we know that it's functioning appropriately, then we will start working on that marketing campaign that Ms. Range suggested. The other site that was being talked about is raleighnc.gov/bus map. And that's the location where you can just go and look at our bus stop inventory, where the shelters are located, where the planned shelters are, and so on.
David.
For that part regarding the bus shelters where they're located and planned to be located, I'm looking for, is there a legend that kind of like notates the colors? I'm looking at like blues and oranges and
The top
apologies.
right hand corner has layers, so you can use that up there.
Got it. Thank you, David.
David, and how many the shelters we put up in the past few years? About 200 shelters.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've been pretty busy. Thank you. Good luck. I mean, thank you.
234, I think, is that our street count currently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's David Walker.
That's been over the
the
past couple
total.
of years. Yeah. Yeah. That's
And this
good.
is Lupe. I have another question. Have we removed any stops? Or any shelters?
Mr. Walker, obviously, our system-wide total has about 1,400 bus stops. So we're constantly moving and adding stops throughout the network. But certainly, if you have any specific request about a stop that may have moved, Mr. Walker may be able to help.
It was very general. I know that since we added 80 new shelters, I was wondering in that if there were any changes in addition to that. Have you taken any shelters down or, removed stops in certain areas, especially with the slowdown in riding COVID?
No, at this time, we have not reduced any stops, that's for sure. Sometimes we will work with the route committee in order to do stop consolidation. That's where we have too many stops in a certain area. And so we'll actually work to make sure that we have our quarter-mile stop spacing. But that's usually very deliberate, but we have not removed any stops lately.
All right, thank you.
David, I have a question. I was looking at the different layers of the map, and I was looking at I expanded the options down at the bottom, and I can see the different attributes. And was wondering, is there something that I'm missing where we can see the ones that? Because I think something that's important are the stops that have like wheelchair accessibility, where there's a curb or there's something like kind of obstructing someone that needs to use like the bus lift. I don't know if that's something that overall is important, but I'm just wondering, is there a way to kind of like denote that? I know all the buses are equipped with front and rear lifts for handicapped individuals, but I was just wondering if there's anything that like notates some of the shelters that have some special attributes or the curb area. Does that question make sense? I know it's a little jagged.
Yes. So it might be better to do that offline, or I can, or if the board wants me to do that, if you actually click or double click on an individual stop, it brings up an attribute table. And within that attribute table, it tells what the stop number is, what type of shelter is there. And generally, I think it also may say whether it's ADA accessible or not. So I would have to look at that. My memory is not quite that good to remember all the attributes, but there are a long list of attributes there.
No, for sure. I just wanted to make sure, because I know that since we're doing a lot of the community and faith-based organization outreach is heavily in play, and just wanted to be able to at least speak to that, because obviously I think our learning curve will be much shorter than someone who's like never ever looked at this interactive map before. So I just wanted to be able to speak to it, or at least say it's up there.
We'll certainly follow back up with you, and we'll be glad to share that with the full board as well. With a quick explanation on what the attribute table, what those different elements mean, because some of them are yes, no types of answers to the attributes. So we'll be happy to make sure that that is relayed.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I have one more question. I know that we're replacing Transloc, so is that new Go Raleigh Live site going to become an app?
This is Nathan Spencer. I've been asking about that, and that's the reason why I mentioned the live API. What they are providing with this technology is a website in which you can access it, but it's going to require someone who has the skill set to build an app to do that. That said, the skill set to build an app is sometimes not all that much. we've seen some pretty innovative folks who just sit down and program be able to do some great stuff. So we are not getting a dedicated app for this site. It is accessible on your phone. And as I understand it, we're not losing Transloc, though we are not continuing to use their technology. We're not updating anything as far as I understand, correct?
This is David Walker, City of Raleigh. Just to follow up on what Nathan said, the regional Transloc app will remain available to the public, at least I believe it's for another year. The region is looking at a replacement potentially for Transloc, or at least an opportunity to upgrade what the region uses. What we have, this GoRaleighLive.org, will be an alternative to Transloc today and what we may end up with at some point in the future. So we will have two options. And as Nathan said, this website is very interactive and easily viewed on your cell phone, and it'll look just like an app. You can, save it to your homepage on your cell phone, click on it just like you would an app, and it'll open up, and you wouldn't know it's not an app once you get it saved to your home screen.
But you have to know that you can download it even though it's not an app, right? Is that what you're saying?
It does not have to be downloaded. You would go to your browser on your cell phone, type in the www, the URL, and then you can click on the little three buttons on the upper right-hand corner, say save to my home screen, and boom, you've got it. It's as simple as that. And that would be part of our marketing campaign, is to show people how to do that, to make sure they're, they can utilize that option if they choose to.
Yeah, because I didn't know that you could do that so easily, and I'm sure I'm not the only idiot out there about this kind of stuff, just because I'm not, Yeah. So that's definitely, we need to make that clear to users.
Yep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, we have to make sure that, especially if we're transitioning to that, and I know you're saying that we're not updating Transloc anymore, but any new routes or stuff is going to be on this site. So we kind of definitely want to make sure that whoever using it is functional for them.
Transloc will continue to have the updates.
Okay.
So whatever the region is using will receive the same updates that they always have. This will just be an alternate site that folks can use. If they prefer Transloc, they can continue using that and get the same information they're getting today, or they can utilize this other one. We frankly feel like it's going to be a little bit more accurate because it's getting data directly from the provider of the technology, and it's not having to be routed, looked at, goes through algorithms and recreated.
So this is basically like what we were talking about a year or two ago. It's not the app yet, but it's getting there to that space. It's like the first iteration, the first phase of us actually creating maybe a Go Raleigh app from our own.
Right.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. All right. Is there any other questions or anything else as far as route committee is concerned?
Great report, Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan. It was amazing reporting. Per usual, sir. All right, so we're going to slide to Policy and Finance Committee. And as I stated, Michael is not here, so Danny is going to report in his stead, along with staff.
Right. I wanted to cut to the chase and say that, one, did you get any more public comment by 12 noon today, David?
It is my understanding that we have not received any additional comment.
Okay, having said that, I think the gist of, I had a chance to go back to the agenda from Tuesday to get my thoughts back together on this thing. I think the issue that we have was we were going to make a recommendation to support the report that was given to us by Morgan, but there was a provision in there that the public comment period ended today at 12 o'clock. So that's why I asked the question, did we get another comment? at 12 o'clock and having not received one, I don't think we had a whole lot of public comments, period. But we at least wanted the minutes to reflect that we kept the public comment open for this during the stated period of time. But I think the recommendation, and Jason is there. He was there, I think, for that period, that discussion.
I was there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So our recommendation to the body is that we support the public. I'm trying to call it the right name. The public participation plan of the Title VI plan update that we recommend to the body to support it.
Danny, before we move forward, when you were asking about public comments, I think it was two separate questions.
Okay.
David Eatman, he was speaking about public comments for this, not for open public comments for the RTA, but for this particular thing, for the community outreach, there were public comments that were closing at noon. So we're wondering if there are any.
That's what I was asking him about.
Yeah, I'm just clarifying for you.
Okay.
This is Andrea Epstein. We closed public comment at 3:30 and have not received anything further than we had reported to the committee.
I'm talking about as it relates to the public participation plan.
Correct. We closed it today at 3:30, right before the meeting, and have not received anything additional to what was presented at the committee meeting last week.
So let the record reflect that we extended the public comment period for 2.5 hours, and that the committee made a recommendation that the body accept the vote up the public participation plan to the Title VI plan update. That's a motion from the group.
I second that motion. Let the record reflect that public comment was extended past noon to 12:30 on today, February 11th, 2021, for the public engagement piece for, what was the name of the project again? It wasn't that Title VI.
Morgan, do you want to provide the legal title of the document?
Sure. It was the Title VI plan, which is inclusive of our public participation plan.
Oh, so it is Title VI.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. It looked like it was two items on the agenda for finance and policy, but I think I was confused with the second. All right, so we're jumping. So it's seconded to that, just to make the record reflect that the public comment was extended for the Title VI public engagement piece until it's past noon on February 11th, 2021 to 12:30 on February 11th, 2021. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick vote on that. All in favor of the record reflecting the extension of the public comment, please say aye. Nay if you oppose. Starting with Nathan Spencer.
Aye.
Karen Ringe.
Aye.
Danny Coleman.
Aye.
Morris Cook.
Aye.
Brian Burnett.
Aye. Again.
Joshua Gill.
Aye.
And I as well, Toluwa Omokaye.
Staff can do the part about the work plan request.
Staff, would you mind stepping in and helping Danny do the debrief for finance and policy by giving us the update on the work plan request, please?
Yes, we have Ryan Boyven, and Ryan, appreciate your help.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ryan Boyven, transit planner on the bus operations and facilities team. And I did put together just a single slide to kind of capture everything we went over with finance and policy. So Nathan or Mr. Spencer gave a great overview of what we presented on the route committee in terms of the content of the projects themselves. And then with finance and policy, we gave them the figures at kind of a higher level. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you all can see that.
You can see it. Well, I can see it.
Okay, great. So when Mr. Spencer gave his update, he delved into the detail in all of these major categories that comprise the Wake Transit Plan on the operating side and the capital side. And so these are the subtotals for each category, and then the grand total for the operating side and the capital side. So on the operating side, Transit Plan Administration is our staffing. Bus operations are all of our routes that we've previously implemented, so this just keeps them funded to keep operating. For FY22, we have no new operating requests. So operating side for FY22 is business as usual. And then on the capital side, you heard the detail from Mr. Spencer about what we were asking for. So, and these are just the subtotals for each category. That's kind of a high-level overview, and happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Ryan. I'm looking in the capital plan with the under the line item bus infrastructure subtotal. What are some of the some of the line items that are included within that? Just wondering how things will shake out with older buses, newer buses, increased maintenance costs, reduced maintenance costs by adding new buses, and so on and so forth. And if I'm completely off base, if that is not the right line item, please let me know that.
That's all right. It's all in the capital plan. So on the vehicle side, like you heard from Mr. Spencer, we'll be requesting funding for 20 new vehicles next year. That does include funding for replacement vehicles, and that just helps us replace the vehicles that are past their useful life. And that's just consistent with the replacement schedule that was developed at the very beginning of the Wake Transit Plan. And then we'll also be requesting funding for expansion vehicles, and that'll get us prepared to have enough vehicles in place for the Route 9 package that's being implemented in FY23. So that just gets us those vehicles so that at the beginning of FY23, we'll be able to put that new route into operation. On the bus infrastructure side, that includes bus stops. So there's 80 bus stops that you heard about. That's system-wide bus stops, as well as funding for new bus stops for that Route 9, where it'll be covering new territory where there's no infrastructure today. So that gives us some funding there. And then other infrastructure projects include our East Raleigh Transit Center, the construction for that, our amenity upgrades for our existing transit centers at Crabtree Valley Mall and Triangle Town Center, as well as our new paratransit operations and maintenance facility. And then the BRT, that's for the Western Corridor design portion. I can't speak too intelligently on that, but if there are questions, our BRT team is on the meeting today. So hopefully that addressed your question.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you, sir.
Ryan,
Yes.
At our meeting, we had a little more detail. Could you make that detail available to Brian and anybody else that addressed where those particular infrastructure locations were and the amount of money that was going to be spent at those particular locations, like the East Raleigh Transit Center and so forth and so on? Today, they've been lumped together just in a broad category, but at our meeting, they were broken out. So you have a better idea of where this money is going if you had an interest in that. Do you mind doing that, Ryan?
I don't have that readily available in a format that I could bring forth right now.
I'm not talking about right now, but days coming. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yes. So, and just a reminder, this is the draft FY22 Wake Transit Plan. There's going to be a public comment period. The lead agency for that is Go Triangle, but TPAC's Public Engagement and Communications Subcommittee is leading that effort. It'll be open from February 25th to March 28th. And just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. But the recommended work plan won't begin on that until April.
May I speak to Karen for a minute? Karen, one of the things that we had a challenge with, and it even came up in the public participation on the Title VI, is that other than stakeholder participation, our general participation from the general public was somewhat, would need some attention. David, do you want to help me out here, explaining what I'm trying, clearing up what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, this is David Walker. We had some good conversation on this at the Finance and Policy Committee, and there was some concern with the number of comments that had been received on Title VI. And our Go Raleigh team has done a lot of social media pushing it out. They sent out emails through our distribution network. Our partners have shared those same emails, and we just did not get a lot of comments in. Now, that does not mean our engagement teams are not doing their jobs. And I can provide an example. We actually gave an example or talked about an example at the committee meeting last week, but I've got real numbers today that I can share with you. We started our campaign for the Garner extension, pushing that social media out just this Tuesday of this week, and we've already got 25 comments. And we're using the exact same engagement methods for that as what we did for Title VI. And our conversation last week was the methods are the same, but it's the topic that generates the comments. There wasn't, quite frankly, a lot of interest in people providing comments on that Title VI program. That's unfortunate, but that's just what happened. When we put this information out about Garner on Tuesday, we immediately started getting comments in, and we've gotten 24 or 25 comments in already in just 2 days. So, I think our engagement team is doing a good job. We've got good methods, and we're seeing that already with this Garner service.
Thank you, David.
David Eatman, City of Raleigh Transportation. But just to follow up, David, I just wanted to make sure that everybody did understand the Title VI document. If you review that document, it is a regulatory document. It is designed to meet federal circular requirements. So some of the content can be less than exciting, quite honestly. There's certainly some very important elements within that document, though. But I did want to, bring that nuance out that it is a little more difficult to get comment on a regulatory document than it is when we talk about new service or new bus stops or things of that nature that really draw attention and excitement. That doesn't mean that we can't do a better job in trying to pull out what some of the exciting elements of a Title VI regulatory compliance document may be in the future. But certainly that's just a realization of the type of document it is. So thank you, Mr. Walker.
Thank you, David.
I want to, Karen,
This is Tallulah. I have a quick question. What is the name when we're looking for public feedback? I know that if we're talking about the Garner Road extension, it says Garner Road extension, right? So there's no explanation needed for that. But maybe the reason why we're not getting a lot of feedback on things that like Title VI is the title of it and people not having an understanding of how it's really fully applying to them directly. So what's the title of that we're putting out when we're looking for public feedback on it for this particular one?
I'll have to defer to Andrea and or Morgan on that. I know I've seen them, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
I'm sorry, I'm actually trying to understand the question. Are you referencing what was some of the titling we put for Title VI, or are you referencing Garner?
No, I'm saying I was using Garner because he says the feedback is dependent on what the survey is. So Garner, people understand that if it's Garner Road, they understand it's an extension. So people who might be impacted can respond to it. So for the Title VI, what's the title of it? If it just says Title VI or regulation, it may not get responses because people don't necessarily know how that applies to them. So I'm wondering what the title is. That may be the issue versus what, versus the actual thing that we're asking for feedback on.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll speak a little bit on as far as some of the social media postings that went out. Oops, sorry, didn't realize my hair was sticking up. But with like some of our Instagram postings, it didn't come out specifically saying Title VI. It came out asking, we want to get your feedback as it relates to equity, as it relates to outreach, that sort of thing. Even with the website pushes, there was the push, the question and pulling out those trigger words of like equity, outreach, participation. When we had our listening sessions and we were trying to gauge, get feedback from public stakeholders, we did not title it Title VI because we knew people are not going to know what that is. Most of the time, most people tend to associate title anything with employment issues of sort. So we made sure to title it equity or title it have conversations about equity, outreach, participation, because those are the big elements as it relates to Title VI. But we can all, like I said, we like what David mentioned, both Davids mentioned, we can always be doing better with that. And I think throughout these processes, we learned that. And even throughout the Title VI update, we were able to gauge and get some toolkits that allows us to be able to determine and identify better engagement strategies. So that's kind of was the strategy, but we ran into the situation too, and I think this is kind of going on now as well, is it's just with 2020, everything was so virtual, everything between a whole bunch of emails, a whole bunch of webinars, it's just a lot being pushed at people. So we run into that situation as well. So we had a lot of different components that were a lot of different elements that we were competing against. But like David mentioned, it's this is a living, breathing document. So if there are any updates or any changes that we see that we need to make as it relates to engagement, as it relates to how we're measuring engagement or measuring equity, we can always make that. So don't feel that what we approve today, that we can't make any changes until the next update. We can, because it's a living, breathing document.
I think it would be I thank you for that. I think that it would be really, really beneficial in that way. And Karen, tell me if I would like your opinion on this. If we're titling them, maybe having a marketing committee have a conversation with you all about that before they go out, just to have an understanding of like the titling. So if the title said conversations around equity, conversations around, I can't remember everything else you were saying, but like ridership, equity, outreach, right? Instead of saying, how is equity impacting you? Like giving them a call to action question, or how is this right? How are you being, are we reaching you? Like maybe the title being a question that makes people start saying, well, what do they mean by that? You know what I'm saying? Somewhere in there, maybe it's worth it for us to maybe in marketing kind of have an opportunity to kick around some of those so we can see if we can get some of the best, more responses possible.
And we're willing to work with your committee and Andrea's team to do that. No problem.
I think that's the end of the report. I might be mistaken, but I think that's it. David? I
didn't know if Karen, I think she had one initially. I don't know if it was answered in the process or not.
Well,
we talked about the work plan request.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, because I'm having my screen is frozen on my end. So, well, first of all, everything that the Davids and Morgan said were things I was going to say anyhow. But the challenge is that we just have so many things for the public to comment on, and I'm sure there's fatigue. I mean, even for me, which thing do I comment on? Which thing do I push out an email? I mean, or on Facebook or something? There's
I think we might have lost Karen.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think, yes, Ms. Range has disappeared.
And we lost her. All right, so we're gonna jump into what she was doing, the marketing committee updates, but there were no updates because we did not meet in February. So I guess until she chimes back in, let's keep this party rolling and jump to the additions on the agenda and talk about the overview of section 5310.
All right, thank you. I am going to ask Miss Andrea if she has the slides or if it would be easier for me to bring them up on my end. And it may be easier for me to bring those up, so I'm going to do that now.
I'm bringing them up. Sorry, it took a second to find them.
No problem. Thank you.
Is this correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So today we did want to give a quick update on the enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities program. We call that internally in our FTA language, Section 5310. All of our funding sources have a funding section code, and so this is 5310. Want to also acknowledge Ms. Morgan Simmons, the information that you're going to see here today. She compiled this, and I'm just presenting this out for the sake of flow at the moment. But she has been working with other staff members and certainly stakeholders as we put this process together. Next slide, please. So the Section 5310 program, we have brought this before the Transit Authority over the last several years. It is a biannual product or biennial, which every other year product. And it does provide capital and operating grants for nonprofit organizations. And to summarize it, it's really for seniors and persons with disabilities. So providing transportation resources for seniors and persons with disabilities. It is administered by the Capital Area MPO. So they actually receive the funds for our urbanized area. And since we're the designated recipient, Go Raleigh is, and we handle all the Federal Transit Administration grants and grant oversight, that's how we're plugged into this process. So we don't actually select the grantees. We actually handle the funding and the compliance efforts once those grants are distributed. So all of those sub-grantees or grants are distributed to nonprofits and other entities that are sub-grantees to us, and we're responsible for that program compliance. Next slide. So here's a summary of funds available from several fiscal years in the past. So we'll actually have about 1.2 million available for agencies to apply for. In addition, in the what I call, it's a lot easier to say CARES Act 2 funding than the long title of the new funding that came out. But anyway, we got just below 115,000 in CARES Act 2 funding, and that is 100% federal. So if an agency were to apply for those funds, it would not require a local match. Generally speaking, these funds require either a 50% local match, or at a minimum a 20% local match, depending upon program activity. So jumping over to the schedule, it will go before the Campo Executive Board on the 17th. We'll open the call for projects to nonprofit and other agencies on February 26th, and that will close 1 month later in March. Campo subcommittee will be reviewing those applications and reaching out to do any follow-up that might be necessary with the applicants in April. And then in May, Campo and the Campo Executive Board will be looking at actually awarding those documents through a formal action. We will be bringing this information back to you at touch points, I would think, in April and May. April, just to let you know how the process went as far as the solicitations go. And then we'll also be bringing back the grantees that were awarded the funds in May, again, for your information there. Again, it is a Campo initiated or really oversight. I'm sorry, not oversight, but administered program, and Go Raleigh just provides the oversight. So again, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but we did want to make sure that you were aware of this call for projects that's being put out later this month. Certainly, if you know of nonprofits or other agencies that provide valuable transportation resources to seniors or persons with disabilities, please let us know, and we can point them in the right direction for applying for these funds. We also generally will hold an open house. I'm sure it will be virtual this time, where we provide an information session to those nonprofits about the funds and how to apply and regulatory compliance and things of that nature. So we can certainly distribute information like that as well. And you see where Morgan actually put down the applications are accepted, the time stamp there, as well as the website of where you can find additional information. So again, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
This is Nathan Spencer. Related to this, but not exact, have we seen an increase in the use of these vehicles, the paratransit and transit for folks that are older adults and those with disabilities?
So generally speaking, during COVID, our paratransit system, just like our fixed route system in the early stages of COVID, I would say the first 3 to 4 months, we saw very depressed ridership. On a fixed route basis, we've recovered around 65% of pre-COVID. On the paratransit side, we're about 80% of pre-COVID. So we're not quite where we were pre-COVID, but the paratransit side is recovering a lot quicker than the fixed route. As a matter, and then on the actual application side, for those that would like to be considered for our ADA program, which is Go Raleigh Access, we've seen our applications nearly double. So we've seen a huge number of new applications, which is, which will eventually have an impact. It will probably just have a lag, but so certainly we're expecting that number to surpass pre-COVID levels probably in the next 12 to 18 months.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions on 5310? All right, if not, then certainly that was information item. We'll be bringing back additional information on our solicitation, as well as selected agencies and nonprofits no later than May. So thank you.
Thank you, David, for that update. All right, we're going to slide into the next addition to the agenda, and that is Nathan with the vaccine. Well, Nathan wanted an update on the vaccine rollout and Go Raleigh's involvement.
Yes, please.
Anyone? Who's going to give us an update on that?
I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if, Nathan, you had additional comments. So you just want a general update on our COVID efforts today, as far as vaccinations go.
I do, and then if need be, I do have a motion.
All right. Obviously, I can provide a brief update. We have been working with Wake County, which obviously in North Carolina, all counties are responsible for the distribution of the vaccine through their health departments. We have been in touch with Wake County Health Department. We at the paratransit level have been providing trips to vaccination sites, but that falls under our normal ADA trip because we don't have any type of specific trip requirements for ADA. We transport anyone to any location as long as it has a physical address within our service area. So while we have actually been tracking those, that's not related directly to an effort by Wake County. That's just individuals responding to the availability of the vaccine. Mr. Walker, I'm probably going to lean on you a little bit, but Mr. Walker has been working with Wake County as they talk about a vaccination site at PNC Arena. And so we are working to make sure that we coordinate our efforts with that site. And Mr. Walker, I'm going to let you elaborate if you could.
Sure. As David mentioned, Wake County reached out to us about our bus routes that are in close relationship with the PNC Arena for the mass vaccination, that's going on today and then again on Saturday. They were not reaching out to us to provide any additional services. They just wanted to coordinate with us in case we did have some of our riders attempting to get to the arena for that vaccination. So we provided, them the individual bus stops that would be served closest to the PNC Arena. Our two new Wake Transit Plan routes, the Edwards Mill and the Blue Ridge route, both have stops in fairly close proximity. So those two routes were discussed, and the bus stop and ID numbers were given, and they've got those listed on their website. And then what they are doing in turn is they are providing a shuttle from our bus stops into the PNC Arena directly to the vaccine sites, and then providing return shuttles back to our bus stops for those persons that may be riding. So they've got all that information on their website, and have coordinated with us. We gave them the approximate times that the buses should be there, and the frequencies that they would be arriving.
David, you're on mute.
I was saying that PNC has designated areas, Mr. Walker, for TNC and paratransit as well.
Yes, that's correct. So if you're in a cab or a Lyft, Uber, or Go Raleigh or Go Wake Access vehicle, they've got specific drop-off sites. So those vehicles don't have to wait in the lines. And the lines, to bring that point up, is these vaccines are by appointment only, and that was done intentionally to try and prevent some of the long lines and waits that folks were having in other locations around the country. So hopefully that's been going well for them today. Hopefully the rain that we're having right now hasn't slowed down the attendance for those appointments, but we'll see how that's going.
Thank you. This is Nathan Spencer again. The reason for my asking is I think that should we do this in another round again, I think that there's opportunity for us to increase service or run service directly from downtown for this. I think the easier we make it for people to get their vaccine, the better opportunity that people may take advantage of it, especially those that are transit dependent or unable to use a vehicle to get there. So I guess what I'm asking from the board basically is that if we see this again, can we encourage staff to put something together with frequent service, at least from downtown, if not frequent service from the touching routes that touch the PNC Arena or whatever mass vaccine site there would be? Are there others that agree with me? Am I way off? Danny, you're muted.
I agree with you, Nathan. I think it's a good idea.
I got the thumbs up from the healthcare professional of the group, so that's a good sign.
So I would say that staff will be happy to reach out. With the only disclaimer is that I think that we're certainly still in phase one currently and by appointment only. So that probably presents some challenges with individuals showing up randomly. So obviously everyone has to schedule that and get there at a particular time. That acknowledgement. Certainly when we get to a more general population, I think that's a whole different thought process. And we'll be in additional conversations with the health department in Wake County at that point. And we'll be happy to have those conversations. Certainly we have to yield to them because it's kind of, they're the ones that coordinate and we're there to support wherever they need us. And so that's what we've done so far. We've done whatever they've needed us to do. But certainly a point well taken, and we'll be happy to assist any way we can.
Thank you.
Thank you for adding that to the agenda, Nathan. Is there that was our last addition to the agenda. Are there any other items or any other comments or conversations from the authority?
This is Karen Wrench. I think David Eaton was going to give us a report on the name change of the Raleigh Transit Authority.
Correct. So I did talk to the manager's office as well as the attorneys. It looks like we will need to put that on an agenda. I don't know exactly what form that will be, as well as it looks like they will want to make a code change with that, since we're talking about changing the name, and that would be a formal change through council. So the attorneys are looking to see exactly what that impacts and what changes would be required there, because that would just need to be incorporated into the motion. But that discussion has happened, and I'll push that just as quick as I can.
Thank you, David. We appreciate that. We just wanted to see what the ETA on pushing that along would look like.
Yeah, I would think in 2 to 3 meetings. I think the biggest part of that is just trying to determine are there legal documents that need to follow that if that occurs. So that's the only thing that would slow it down.
Okay.
David, this is Karen Wrench. I don't understand that, because I thought, like a couple of years ago, you had told us that this doesn't require anything legal because it's part of, it doesn't require any legal changes because we're still actually known as, I'm forgetting what it is, the original name of the entity, I guess Capital Area Transit. And so I just don't understand why this has taken so long. And also, Nathan Spencer said he heard Councilor Corey Branch already calling us the Go Raleigh Transit Authority at a council meeting. And so I'm just a little confused.
The entity of Capital Area Transit does still exist. That is the legal name. But if we change the transit authority's name, that does exist in Chapter 11 of City Code. And so we would have to amend Chapter 11. And so that is what I'm working with the attorney's office on currently.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments or concerns from the authority before we convene? Okay, well, if there are none, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff. Thank you, authority. Thank you, everybody who presented, for giving us this great information today to allow us to make these informed decisions. Thank you for all your time and energy you put here into serving the citizens of Raleigh and the riders of Go Raleigh. And the riders of Go Raleigh. So thank you all. I'm going to call this meeting to close at 4:52, February 11th, 2021. Thank you, and hope you all have a good rest of your week. It's time because I'm getting all fluttered. Have a good rest of your week, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.